Okay, so when you've got 20 minutes to work out and you're trying to craft something that is efficient on time, but at the same time is getting you exactly what you need as far as volume, as far as intensity, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing you think about is if you have 20 minutes, let's just say, you want to look for movements that complement each other, and you want to understand like what your goals and intentions are for that day. So for me, and I know a lot for you, is like I love racing the clock. That's like one of my favorite things to do, because I feel like when I'm racing the clock, when I'm chasing a goal, I get the best bang for the buck out of that workout. So what a 20-minute like most effective workout wouldn't necessarily be, like if you just want to do some bis, tries, get a nice pump, like that's solid. But for me, I like to feel like I get my heart rate elevated, I get a little bit sweaty, I get a full body pump. That's what I'm looking for in a 20-minute like fully effective workout. And the best way I've found to do that is EMOMs.
What is
every minute on the minute. And what that means to me is there's really two ways you can look at an EMOM. One way, you can look at it more as a technique focus. So let's just say on that day you want to get better at, I don't know, muscle ups. You could do 3 muscle ups every minute for 20 minutes. Or you could say, hey, I want to combine 2 different movements. For example, I want to do 20 cals on this row, so I get a nice pull, get my heart rate elevated. That's 1 minute. 20 calories, I'm gonna push. Then the next minute, maybe I'll do a movement that combines with it pretty well. So I'm gonna do a push. So I have a pull and a push on bench press as an example. So maybe I'll go 20 cals here, maybe I'll go 10 or 15 reps there. But the reason why I like EMOMs is because I'm chasing it minute by minute, and it's my goal to get the work done in that amount of time. So it's not just me kind of like, you know, going around for 20 minutes. It's me with a calculated approach each minute. And whether it's for technique, like a muscle ups, or conditioning and strength, I'm looking at a minute by minute goal.
I put a link down below for the ones that I use. I use LMNT, and lately I've been using the sparkling ones because they just taste better, and they're just, it's like having a soda.
This one by far is my favorite flavor. This one's the grapefruit salt, and they have it in a sparkling version. So this is LMNT. It's 1,000 milligrams sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams magnesium. Throughout the course of the day, it feels like I'm drinking a soda without all the garbage. I feel like I'm actually mineralizing and hydrating, but also curbing my appetite and having something that tastes pretty darn good too. But then again, during my workouts, this is the really refreshing thing. There's actually some really cool science on receptors in your mouth. So you actually feel like you're getting more hydrated when you have something that's a little bit carbonated. So sipping on one of these actual ready to drink LMNT sparkling drinks during my workouts is pretty darn awesome. But the link down below gets you a free sample variety pack with their stick packs. So those are the good tried and true ones that you can add to water, you can add to a bottle, add to a jug, sip on them throughout the day. But you can get a free sample variety pack of one of those with any purchase. So if you try their ready to drink sparkling version, you can try the regular stick packs too. So that link is down below. It's drinklmnt.com/Thomas. So you could really apply this for like a hypertrophy type style, for a strength style, or even for aerobic or even techniques. There's almost like 4 different categories that you could really do it in.
100%. I mean, imagine hypertrophy. Let's just say you're doing some curls and you're trying to like, you hit a certain rep range and you're kind of feeling the burn, then you recover. The next minute you do the same, or maybe you do something that alternates with it really well. So like maybe diamond push-ups with some type of pull would be a good example, alternating minutes. But I think the big thing that we're talking about here, however you want to do it, is that you're not like wasting time. You're using the clock to your benefit instead of just looking up at the clock. You're already 5 minutes in and you haven't gotten much done.
Yeah, it's what I've noticed is, you know, if you look at like a traditional workout style where you say, okay, I'm gonna have a 60-second rest. What's different about an EMOM that I appreciate is that you can scale it and have a longer rest, a shorter rest, depending on like what volume you want to do in that minute. So like what I used to not like about a traditional rest period is like, okay, if let's say I do 12 reps of dumbbell chest press, and I give myself a 1 minute break. That 1 minute is so like subjective depending on how hard I pushed it on that in that rep range, right? Whereas if I'm doing an EMOM, if it takes me 30 seconds to do 12 reps, or it takes me 50 seconds to do that 12 reps, the rest period is almost scaled naturally to your intensity and your effort.
Right, that's right. So, and you could do ETOTs, like every 30 seconds on the 30 seconds. You could do every 2 minutes on the 2 minutes. But I think what we're talking about here is that we're utilizing the clock as a way to hold us accountable to the work that needs to get done. To your point, if you had hit a set of 12 back squats and then rest a minute or two, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a lot of time can go by and not much work can get accumulated. Like let's just say you hit your 12, then you're kind of chilling, all of a sudden you start scrolling on your phone. Next thing you know, it's been 5-7 minutes and you do another set. when you hold yourself accountable to every 2 minutes, every 3 minutes, every 30 seconds, every minute, which is my favorite, now all of a sudden when you look back at a 20-minute workout, you're like, wow, look at all the work I just got accomplished in a very short period of time.
We were just talking about like the EMOM that we did. We did one that was, I mean, it was so simple. That's what it was like, so fundamentally just easy. It was row, bench press, and pull-ups. And then by the end of it, you don't realize, like we just finished and we're saying, wow, we did 100 reps of pull-ups. And it doesn't feel like, as we were working out for 21 minutes, and the volume is there, but you don't really think, like if you were doing a traditional type of workout with a 60-second rest or whatever, just doing the 100 pull-ups alone might be a half an hour workout.
Right, and that was a triplet. So another way you could think about this is like you could do couplets, so 2 movements back and forth. You could do triplets, you could do 4, you could do as many as you want, right? I mean, even there's a very famous EMOM called Fight Gone Bad, which is actually five particular movements. But back to our simple example, right? We accumulated on the rower, a couple hundred calories. We accumulated 100 reps on the bench, accumulated 100 pull-ups. And we did that before we even realized it because it's a minute by minute goal. Like you saw me, I was having a tough time getting that last pull up or 2, but I'm looking at the clock, I'm like, I gotta get it. If that clock wasn't there, I probably would have just kind of been like, okay, let me chill out a little bit. 20 seconds later, I would have been done. But instead, the clock is like my training partner. So even though you're my training partner in that moment, the clock is like my guiding principle. And what's nice about that is that whether you're super fit or brand new to the game, you could adjust the goals accordingly and each one of you can get a great workout.
I would, at the risk of sounding super cheeky and almost cliche in some ways, I mean, I would go on record and say that EMOMs for me are probably the best fat burning style workouts for me. I mean, I know it's difficult to say because you can't say, well, what's gonna actually burn fat? But for me, as far as like staying lean all the time, I've noticed that EMOMs they cover all those bases in a short amount of time. And I know, I mean, at the end of the day, like there's a million different ways to kind of skin that and lean out. But if someone is, say, a little bit more focused on, hey, I'm a little less worried about building strength and I'm more worried about maybe fat loss at this point.
Right.
How would you recommend orienting and setting up an EMOM? Would it be maybe one strength move, 2 cardio moves? Like what's kind of the ideal protocol to set up in that
Well,
case?
I think one of the first things we have to recognize when it comes to like fat loss, in my opinion, is that we can't be afraid to lift weights. Yeah. We can't be afraid to add an external load. So if you think about it, there's like this monostructural component, more like your typical cardio, run, bike, swim, whatever. Then there's gymnastics, which is utilizing your own body weight. And then there's weightlifting, which is adding external load. I think a good workout should probably be a combination of the 3 of those. So you have one cardio type, let's just say for example, the rower. It's the same repetitive movement over and over again, kind of single modality. Then you would add in some type of gymnastics movement, let's just say for the sake of argument, a burpee. And then you would combine with that some type of weightlifting movement, maybe a kettlebell swing or a front squat, something along those lines. And you would rotate between those 2. So you'd go like 15 cals here, maybe 10, 15 burpees, maybe 15, 20 squats with a load. And all of a sudden you would hold yourself accountable to that for 21 minutes. And by the time you're done, you'd be smoked.
That's pretty awesome. And then, is there anything, if someone's setting up their own EMOM, are there any kind of like antagonistic moves or any sort of interference methods that people should avoid? Is there anything like, hey, you should probably not maybe go do a back squat followed immediately by a deadlift? Or, I mean, is there any like big, hey, what are 3 or 4 like big no-nos?
I think when you're chasing the clock, there's a lot of benefit to chasing the clock, whether it's an AMRAP. So AMRAP is as many reps or rounds as possible in a given time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, or EMOMs, you're chasing the clock. I think anytime you're chasing, you should be aware of lifting super heavy. Okay. So if you want to do an EMOM and you want to chase weight, then give yourself plenty of recovery time. So let's just say it's 1 power clean every minute on the minute for 20 minutes. You can go heavy. But don't do, 20 power cleans every minute on the minute at a heavy weight. You'll just exhaust yourself and you'll set yourself up for failure. So the first thing is identifying realistic goals. So my favorite EMOM ever, well, aside from the one we've done before, the death row, is just for 10 minutes, 15 burpees every minute on the minute for 10 minutes. 15 burpees. This is my go-to when I'm traveling. It's my go-to all the time. But as a beginner, if you're new, what you don't want to do is go out hot for 15 burpees the first minute and then the next minute just crumble. What you want to do is you want to give yourself realistic goals so you're chasing. So my recommendation is when you're looking at these EMOMs, think about 45, 50 seconds of work and 10 seconds of rest if you're looking for like that fat burn, cardio pursuit. If you're looking for more like strength training, it could kind of be a 1-to-1 ratio, a little bit more like 20, 30 seconds of work with 30 seconds of rest. That's what I would look at it as.
Can you ever set up an EMOM in a fashion where it's every 3 minutes on the 3 minute, then down to every 2 minutes on the 2 minute, then down to every minute on the minute? Has there ever been, can you kind of descend an EMOM where it's like, hey, I've got a strength move where I want to kind of maybe do a few rounds of every 3 minutes, then down to an every 2 minute, down to an every 1 minute, where you're kind of getting almost like a strength kind of intermediary and then a cardio phase?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that there's something called death by. So death by would kind of be what you're talking about, a little bit different, but death by would be like the first minute I'm going to do 1 burpee.
Okay.
Second minute I'm going to do 2. Third minute I'm going to do 3. Fourth minute I'm going to do 4. And then you keep working your way up. And by the time what happens is normally you get to a certain point where you're feeling good, you're like high-fiving your friends, and then all of a sudden you get 7-8 minutes in, it escalates very quickly. So that's a death by style. But I think when it comes to EMOMs, when it comes to AMRAPs, the secret is finding the best workout for you for that day, listening to your body. But when you leave, you just want to say, hey, did I train hard? Did I put in my best effort? Did I get in a good workout? And chances are you probably did, and you show up the next day and you get ready to hit it.
One thing that you taught me that I just definitely want to highlight here is when you and I first got together a couple of years ago and we did that thing called death row, which for the record is a 20 calorie row and then is it 15 burpees, right? It was like every minute on the minute alternating. So it was brutal. One of the things that you taught me was a lot of times when people first start doing an EMOM style is they look at this as wanting to go really hot out the gate so that they get more rest. So for example, if you're doing an EMOM and if you were to complete your set number of reps in 30 seconds, then you'd have a 30-second rest, whoop-de-doo.
Right.
Which sounds great in theory because you're like, oh cool, the faster I can get through this, the longer rest I have before the next. But you taught me, and it was really stuck with me, it was when I was rowing, you're like, no man, drag it out. You've got a whole minute, use this as your recovery. So you're dragging that row out to 55 seconds when on the surface, you're like, I'm only getting a 5-second recovery here. But it was so much easier and more efficient than if I tried to blast that in 35 seconds and I'm totally gassed and can't recover at all.
Yeah, I thought Gabe brought up a really good point earlier. If you're running for let's just say a 10K, you wouldn't sprint for 45 seconds, jog for 15, right? You would just kind of find a pace and keep consistent.
Yeah.
That same idea is what you want to think about in EMOMs. But it's really important when you're looking at EMOMs. I know we said that word a lot today, but I believe it is probably the most effective way, that and AMRAPs, but I actually prefer EMOMs above all else, to train because it allows you to set the goals, but you got to be careful how you goal set. So to your point, you really want to be on that cusp of can I get it? And in your mind, you're saying, maybe I can, and then you're chasing it. But if you know from the get-go you can't get it, let's just say I said, hey, I want you to do 50 calories on the rower every minute for 10 minutes, there's no way you're going to get that. But if I said I need you to get 15, you're like, maybe, right? So you want to find what works for you so you're right on the cusp of that, and then keep your heart rate under control. A good way I like to look at it is when you're looking at workouts, whether it's jujitsu, whatever you have going on, especially in the gym, is think about it like swimming, right? So in swimming, you stroke, breathe, boom, boom, breathe. And what it does, it tells your brain there's consistent oxygen coming in. It keeps your heart rate a little bit under control. But as soon as you miss that stroke, I know it's probably happened to you, I know it's happened to me, all of a sudden your heart rate spikes. So when you're doing EMOMs, when you're doing AMRAPs, when you're doing workouts, I try and think about, I could breathe anytime I want. So I need to find my breathing cadence, and that's really important.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think that's probably the most important thing that it's taught me. And it's also taught me that not every workout needs to be the same sprint, right? I can take the same workout, I can take literally the same EMOM workout and almost scale the intensity within the same number of reps simply by how hard I push it in that minute, right? For example, if we did exactly what we did today, and I wanted to gas the bench press or gas the push or the pull-ups as fast as I could and tax a different energy system, I could. I could get myself into zone 5 if I really wanted to and just shorten the length of the overall EMOM. Maybe do a 10-minute EMOM, right? So it's we did a 21-minute EMOM, which is flirting with becoming a little bit endurance at some point, right? And I've done EMOMs that are as long as 40 minutes that are just this is purely an endurance-based EMOM. And then I've done ones that are 7 minutes where it's heavy deadlift and
we do something through our Train Hard app every Saturday. We do what's called a gut check workout, which is 30-minute EMOMs, 30-minute workouts, to your point. But one of the things I did want to bring up, because you brought it up, was different time domains. So we're talking about 20-minute. I believe that if you were working out three days a week, 1 hour a day, if you said, hey Jason, what's the most effective workout I could have for 3 days a week, 1 hour a day? I'd say come in, either use an EMOM mentality, or maybe like a 5x5, like linear, like just like a progression on back squat. Hit a squat, a pull, a push, and a squat each week from a strength perspective, right? A pull, a push, a squat, and then follow that up with a 12 to 20 minute conditioning workout. Typically either an AMRAP or an EMOM. I think that if you could do that for 1 hour a day, 3 days a week, that's the best bang for your buck. I think it hits these energy systems that are short and intense, but also a little bit more aerobic in nature, because you're kind of right in that middle area, and you're getting that pure strength with functional capacity, pull, push, squat.
I love that, man. Well, Jason, where can everyone find you, man?
Best place, if you want to check out our training programs, we have 3 awesome programs. One to help you act the part, just strength and conditioning, called Force on our Train Hard app. One's to help you look the part, a little bit more bodybuilding, called Flex. And then we have an EMOM program on our Train Hard app. So you can go check out the Train Hard app. You can also check me out on Jason Kleepa on Instagram, and we have all kinds of stuff there.
Right on. Thanks, brother.